Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Viewscreen podcast where we introduce sci-fi shows to a fantasy nerd. I'm Viztee.
And I'm Overlite.
Today, we're gonna take a look at The Expanse, Episode 1.
The Expanse?
The Expanse, it's a TV show. It's on the show, and that's the thing.
Thank you for listening to Vscreen, everyone. This has been a great episode.
What a great episode.
11, maybe.
11?
I don't know. We're not that far along, are we?
Overlite's got no perception of time.
Well, it's not like we do these very consistently. So
No, what do you mean? It's episode 15.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yep, it is.
Is it actually?
Yep.
It's like I'm checking. Done 15 of these?
Yeah, this is 15.
Oh my god. It's time to stop. I'm kidding.
What?
I'm kidding. The Expanse. In space. No one can hear you cut corners.
What?
That's what it was like. I was just like half the time I was like, they were doing some stuff and they were like, it was very dystopian. So I was just like,
Yeah.
I just kept making in space jokes.
It is very dystopian in the belt. So it's like there's like three major like sort of factions in the Expanse. There's Mars, Earth, and the belt. And Earth is kind of like sort of Earth as it is, except they're sort of united as one nation under the United Nations, and they have like, you know, one government, and they're kind of the Earth, like, you know, they're very sort of fat and full of themselves, and sort of like everybody's kind of living on basic, unless you're sort of uber connected and rich. You can't really get a job unless you're uber connected and rich.
Sorry, what is basic?
Like universal basic income.
Oh,
like,
I see. Okay.
You get like, you know, you get free handouts from the government.
This wasn't in episode 1.
No, I guess it's really not. It's not really covered.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Perhaps I am feeling extra apathetic this week, but I literally didn't care. They gave us like an intro. You know what the intro was? Possibly the worst fucking intro. They gave us like 4 screens of text that went by too fast to read. Like, you could read them. I couldn't process the words that were written. I read them. I was like, ooh, Earth, Mars, the belt. They hate each other, and water is valuable. But it was like, it was so fast, and I was like, oh, I can't keep up.
It was just like, oh, anything could cause war.
And then later in the episode, they start talking about the tensions between Earth and Mars, and I'm like, oh, you didn't even need that bit. You could have just cut the text at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just started with the horror opening of like, in space, no one can hear you come, but instead of, you know, it's getting glopped by a monster. And I was just like, oh, that was a bit shit. The opening.
Oh.
I mean.
Oh no.
I think.
Uh-oh.
I'm in the mood for complaining.
Oh no. Overlite's gonna shit on one of the best sci-fi series of all time.
It was just the first like fight. That opening was like, here's a bunch of text that you can't read fast enough because it's gonna flash by really fast. And then it was like, we're gonna focus on the text on this person's back, and you're not gonna have enough time to read it. And if you didn't read it in time, you wouldn't have caught that was the same ship later on. And I'm like,
it was very like
barely caught it.
It was classic. They went for like a very classic sci-fi. Here's some text at the start opening, very Mass Effect. like boom 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 boom. Here's some exposition text to get you in the setting that you didn't need.
But then they
And
also
then-
had the opening intro thing of like the spooky space monster that was also
Yeah.
a significantly better way of setting the mood than the text.
Yeah. Because it was like there's a girl, and she's trapped on a spaceship, and she escapes. And then the crew is all dead, and she goes to the main reactor, and they're all being absorbed by something.
And then it cuts.
Roll credits.
Yeah. Which
Roll
I was
intro.
like, okay, that's cool. I guess this is a horror show or something. I don't really.
Well, there's something
And then it
weird is
stopped
going
being
on.
and then it stopped being a horror show and it went
Yeah.
to dystopia. And I think honestly, this show is it's a sci-fi show,
Yeah.
but it's not a sci-fi show first.
No.
This is a
No, it's like-
dystopian
I was
show. This
gonna
is a
say-
dystopia first. It's like so heavy on the dystopia compared to like it's a sci-fi setting, but
yeah.
like
It's like unlike kind of like Star Trek and Doctor Who and stuff. They're all about like, they're like, wow, look at us, we're going on a space adventure. Look at us, we're doing our cool woohoo, wow, wacky space adventure times. And The Expanse is more like Battlestar Galactica, where it's like, we're gonna tell a gritty human story that happens to be set in space.
like it could
With
be
maybe
yeah.
some alien stuff in it.
It could be about
and
the like
stuff.
the politics between Earth and Mars and the Bell and about
Exactly.
that.
Yeah,
but it is it's like it's constantly shoving the like everyone's in a shit place because society is
Yep.
shit and everyone
Yep.
hates it, etc. And
Mhm.
people and everything is worse
Yep.
because people have treated each other like etc. etc. etc.
exactly. That's The Expanse.
But I've remembered why I'm so annoyed.
Oh,
The sound balance / design for most
what
of the
did
episodes.
you watch? Okay, what did you watch it on? Because when I watched it on, I have a really nice setup with my, because I have like my Go XLR, I have my really expensive headphones.
Right.
I think when I watched it originally, I did not have my Go XLR and I did not have my really expensive headphones, and it was still fine. But when I watched it on my telly, it was fucking terrible, and I could not. For the first like 5 episodes, you just could not understand what the fuck was happening on my TV at all. Like, it was just completely impossible. The sound balance was just awful. But on my like headset, perfectly fine. So like, what were you actually like watching it on?
So, I was watching it on my fancy Go XLR
Oh
and
no!
my lovely headphones.
What? How?
And I've really
How
got to
is it-
say,
Yeah.
the sound balance was absolute dog shit.
What?
It was
Maybe you just got. I think you just got terrible
for
ears.
most of the episode. I genuinely like the second someone started talking, I turned subtitles on. I literally instantly.
I think you've just got bad ears.
You think I've just got bad
honestly,
ears?
Yeah,
I do.
I think I've watched way worse shows. I think The Expanse is.
I can actually confirm. I am actually really bad at parsing human speech, but like, that doesn't make up for the fact that the sound did like.
No, I think
balance and
it
design
on
was
like
pretty
on
fucking
TV
shit.
and stuff. It's terrible, but I thought it's perfectly fine on like when I been watching it on
No.
my headphones.
I think the worst part is normally it's bad because like they're like, oh, we'll fix it in post. They made it worse in post. The problem was all the fucking added noises. Like some of the effects were cool, like when they were walking along the ship, but like every time anyone was talking, I was like, what the fuck are they saying? I literally can't tell. I just couldn't like. Maybe I just got like so put off by like the opening being like echoed. Like I was trying to listen to the echo speech and I literally couldn't understand what was being said. It just sounded and then like they were cutting between speaking English and speaking the conlang. I think there was a conlang in there. And I was like, okay, the sound design is so bad I can't tell when they're speaking English and when they're not speaking English. Like I can't the balance was so fucked. And then like half the time they're in scenes
No, I
where
didn't
there's
have
just
this. I
really
didn't have
loud
this at all.
sound effects playing over them talking, and I'm like, am I supposed to be able to understand what the fuck is going on?
No, I see. I didn't. I don't. I did not have this issue. I did not. I did not notice this issue at all.
So I'm pissed off.
No, I don't agree. I'm putting my foot down. I don't agree with this. On television, when I watch this on my TV, I completely agree.
How many times have you seen this show?
I mean, even when I watched it the first time, I didn't go, "Oh my god, I don't understand what's happening," because I watched it and I was like, "This is perfectly fine." But then I distinctly remember trying to watch it again on my TV and going, "Oh my god, the sound balance is awful." And then I went back and watched it on my PC with my headphones on and went, "Oh, the sound balance is fine." So I think I don't know. What is it? Just like I don't even know. Is it just like a Chrome Firefox thing? I don't even fucking know. But I have watched it several times, so I do.
The sound.
And I watched this episode having just watched this episode 2 days ago because I've been rewatching it.
The sound quality, sound balance, whatever you call it, as I'm pretty
it does get
sure.
better as the show goes on.
Oh yeah,
but,
sure it does.
I do distinctly remember like trying to watch it on. I would 100% if you're watching it. I probably wouldn't watch. I would just not recommend watching a lot of shows on televisions now anyway, unless you've got a fancy surround sound or like speaker system, because TV show company, like people who are mixing, well, it's not even the sound mixing.
Not the sound mixing,
fault.
it's the on-set stuff.
Well, it's the TV company people's things and stuff too. They just cheap out on the speakers and they don't put like a middle. It's to do with like how they only ever put a left and a right speaker in TVs, and the left and the right, the sounds hit each other, and then that like cancels a lot of the sound out. And so you end up drowning a lot of the sound out, and it needs like a middle speaker in as well. And that like, because the way sound works, I read about this, so don't quote me on this word for word. And like, so it needs like a middling speaker to sort of fix the sound drowning outness. And a lot of TVs cheap out on that, and that's why it sounds like garbage. So I wouldn't watch a lot of stuff on a telly unless you've got a nice sound system.
I'm not going to make excuses for this show, which has now earned my annoyance purely through the sound. Like, on the one hand, I did love some of the sound effects, the spacey ones. On the other hand, anytime anyone was talking, it was an absolute trash fire. Didn't know what the fuck was going on.
This makes me incredibly sad.
Talk about the show. I'm just gonna maintain this tone of annoyance. Okay. There was a bit of cop
Yeah, so
brutality. That was fun.
Oh, I was gonna say, the thing I like about this show, I think it did really well, is that it kind of like, so it like throws you into like Ceres Station, which is like an asteroid around Ceres. I think Ceres is like, is it one of the moons of Jupiter or one of the asteroids around Jupiter? I can't remember. And it's the station's on it, and it's like that's where like a lot of the sort of first season is set, and you're following Detective Miller in the first episode, and
one of the first things we see him do is just beat a random guy up for no reason. I like that.
Yeah,
just to remind us that he's a cop.
Yeah, he's a cop, and he's training a new cop from Earth. So it basically is like this great way to sort of exposition a load of stuff about all the Belters, because it's set in the future. The Belt's kind of got its own thing going on. They're all speaking in like their own sort of Belter Creole like language. They've got their own like sort of all these like sort of different languagey things going on. So it's just a great way to sort of expositioningly introduce like a ton of things to the audience and to newbie cop guy as you're sort of wandering around the station. I thought it was like kind of a nice way to sort of be like, because it's like, oh, what does well I mean? And it means traitor to my people, and like stuff like that. It's like nice to sort of going around, sort of teaching him how fucking terrible of a cop Miller is, because he just takes bribes, beats people up.
Yeah. Just a shit guy. It's a nice reminder.
Yeah.
But I just assumed he was a terrible guy because he was a cop. I didn't really assume that Miller himself was the bad one.
Well, I mean, we see him take a bribe, to about cleaning out some air filters from a dude, and then like 30 minutes later in the episode, we see those air filters crap out and nearly kill a whole bunch of kids and other people. And then 30 minutes later, he feels really bad about the fact that it nearly killed a bunch of kids, so he takes the guy he took the bribe from and then like chucks him in an airlock and drains the air away and tells the guy to clean up the air filters, and shows him what it's like to nearly suffocate to death. So he's got a whole lot going on. Miller, he's kind of an ass.
I just assumed that like
he's a bit of a guy.
I assumed that it wasn't because he's an asshole. I just assumed it was because he was a cop. Like, we're represented with like a hyper dystopian futuristic society that is like, you know, we're in like late stage to the power of 56 level capitalism, right? And I'm just like, you're telling me there's you're telling me one single nice cop can shed a tear? You think there's one that exists at that point?
Well, that's what
like homie, they're probably all like Miller.
That's what New Cop was trying to do. You know, he was like going, you know, he's trying to save the day. He was trying to save the universe on his first day. You know, he was calling Miller out on his bullshit.
Feels kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, you haven't even seen the
I did kind of wonder
the Earth leadership apart from Avasarala. You haven't even seen the Earth corpos yet. You haven't even seen Earth militaries yet, or the Mars militaries yet. Like, there's some fucking, if you want to talk about late stage fucking
honestly, like when there was right at the start, there was like a protest that they were kind of not protest, but a rally, kind of like a speech.
Yeah.
There was a public speaker talking about the revolution that was coming for the Belters, and I was honestly like kind of thinking that if this was real life, that entire mob would have just beaten the cops to death there and then. Like I kind of just feel like,
but they're in. I mean, but they're in. You know, they're on a thing in space.
Yeah. I get
cops,
that. It just.
The humans are in charge of the station. Like the humans, the Earthers are in charge of the station technically. The governor is of Earth. The Star Helix cops work for Earth. So if they kill some cops, they could probably vent. Like at the end, worst comes to worst, like they could kill all of the Belters on the station. Like if like at the end of the day, it's not gonna work out for like if it was gonna be big revolution times, the Belters on the station would not win. Like at the end of the day, like if it was gonna do big escalation, like that sort of, we're gonna start killing people in that sort of way, that it wouldn't work out. It'd have to. They couldn't just. It wouldn't just random kill cop violence in the middle of the street like that. Would just be madness.
Yeah. Madness. I'm weirdly they could vent them. I'm weirdly not like just the level of like, if you've got a guy doing a rally being like, oh,
and it's not,
we're all being
all
super fucked over and they don't care about any of us and etc. and like how fucked the situation is for the Belters because Mars and Earth are just fighting over them as slaves and they are slaves. If you've got someone doing a public rally with a big old crowd of people talking about how they all see you as slaves and you are treated as slaves, and then you have two of the like enforcing officers just like standing there. I feel like that is the kind of situation where blood starts, you know.
No, it's just like on Earth where you've just got two fucking some people giving a speech about how cops are shit, and then there's two cops just stood there. Nope, and then they just sort of like maybe like if shit kicks off, then maybe they have a little bit of a fight or something, and then tensions boil over. I don't know, like maybe in the next few episodes tensions get real hot. Smiley face. But right now,
I get that it's episode 1, and that's not the kind of thing that happens in episode 1. I feel like they were stood there, and I was watching this, and I was like, damn, how are they still alive right now?
Well,
like, honestly.
It's not all the Belters are very, angry, and, maybe, everybody's kind of chill at the moment. Maybe not everybody's buying into this thing. Maybe when a giant ship that is carrying a lot of ice that is intended to head back to Ceres Station doesn't show up with all of the ice that's going to get turned into water. Maybe when that spontaneously doesn't show up for some reason, maybe tensions get a little bit hotter on the station.
Honestly, you could just spoil the entire fucking plot of the show if you want.
No,
I'm just like, do I even want, we were like 5 minutes in to recording this episode, and I was thinking to myself, like, would I watch another episode? It's the kind of show I would watch, and I would just be like, I would get like 8 episodes in, because I'm like, oh, I kind of want to see what happens, and then 8 episodes in, I'd be like, I'm not actually enjoying this, and then I would, like, it's good.
No, I think
I hate the sound design, which has pissed me off, so I'm like annoyed about it, but it's good. The lighting's great. The dystopia is great. I just don't. I'm just like, ugh.
I think ugh. What I always have saying with The Expanse is once you hit episode 5, like, you're fucking sucked in. Which is always tricky with shows, because, like, you always want to get sucked in.
You know what?
Even quicker.
It's better than Star Trek.
True.
I thought you were going to say season 3.
No.
I actually did.
No, because the first few episodes are like slower to build up the sort of, because you really got to build up the setting in a lot of shows, right? Because you gotta go, and even then,
you don't.
Like, this game really, like, Miller's about to start going down this, like, in this episode, Miller gets given his boss, he's a cop, his boss gives him like an off the books mission to go and find a girl who we actually see she's the girl from the start of the episode who finds the spooky horror alien goop killing the entire ship thing. He gets given a mission to go and find her off the books by his boss, and she is the daughter of sort of this mega conglomerate owning super billionaire guy, and she's like rebel kid, gone off to sort of fuck daddy. I'm gonna go off and join the Belters and do a rebellion. And so he's about to go on like this really cool sort of mystery solving adventure, which is like super fun.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he was just gonna go kidnap a person.
No, actually, he's basically like, oh, kidnap job, super cool. Like, free money, I gotta go and kidnap a rich girl. That's how because he's like expecting it to be like easy peasy, but then he ends up realizing that she's pretty badass, and it's like this cool space adventure. So he has a great time. And then on the flip side, we have this other group of people. We have Holden, Naomi, we got Alex, and we've got fucking what's its face, who's suddenly deleted from my brain. And what's its face? Jesus, I've lost the two names from my head. we've got the other crew who were on the Canterbury, which is like this ice hauling ship, and they've been off ice hauling, and they're they're having like this sort of chill time ice hauling, and stuff's happening over there. Like the EXO, he's lost his goddamn mind. He's been in space way too long. He wants to go back to Earth.
Let's go talk to
He
plants.
he talks to his plants. He has a gun.
Tries to shoot a window. Turns out the window is actually
tries to
just
shoot a window.
screen.
But it's a view screen.
It's a view
podcast.
screen.
Yeah, he's losing it, and they have to sort of wrap him up, and sedate him, and Holden gets made sort of acting EXO because he really does not want to do it. And then they get a distress call from a ship, and they don't want to go to this distress call because they won't get back to their thing and make big money from their ice hauling. So they're going to ignore it, and then Holden feels super guilty. So he secretly logs the distress call. And then a little group of them go out in this tiny shuttle and investigate the distress call. And they do some zero-G maneuvering with the ship, which I thought was cool, because I was saying, with this show, like, unlike Star Trek, where you just kind of like, okay, we're gonna go and investigate the thing, Mr. Worf, warp speed, engage, and they just kind of zap along. In this show, there's zero-G, there's the spaceships, they have to, when they flip them around, it's like a high-G maneuver. They all have to strap themselves into chairs and inject themselves with some juice. Yeah.
The first shot of the ship is like really obviously CGI. Like the first like it cuts to the outside of the ship, and I was like, oh Jesus, that looks like really shit CGI. And then the next shots are like, they're better CGI, but because of that first shot, I was like snapped out of it, and I was like, oh, this whole thing is CGI. Oh, this is kind of hilarious. And then it was like a really like epic flyover, and I was looking at it, and I was like, wow, this is really epic music to play to some like kind of okay CGI.
No, it's a classic, like 2015 old, like sci-fi. It's sci-fi. The sci-fi. TV
I know
channel.
they have to do some fucking CGI shots because we don't do practical effects anymore.
But it's a sci-fi TV channel, so it's like
I am tired of these shots.
What
do you mean from the sci-fi purgatory?
No,
it's all just cubes. I literally, as they were doing the flyover, I was looking at the ship and I was like, I feel like people love doing CGI for sci-fi shows because like 3D modeling software is really good at just squares. Shit.
No. A lot of the Expanse ships are quite square.
It's just it's just all squares.
The Rossi is less square, but the Rossi is still very square.
The whole thing is just like rectangles stuck onto each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, this really looks like something that was made in the 3D modeling program.
Yeah, but even like sort of the ships like even big like Star Trek ships where they're a circle are very easily made in 3D modeling things because they're still made out of squares.
It's just lots of really small squares.
Yeah. Well, you even have to make them out of lots of really small squares. Like, you just have to make them out of enough small squares that you can't see that they're made out of squares.
Yeah. I get that. It's very entertaining how I was like immediately snapped out of it, and I was just sitting there like, oh wow, look at all this nice CGI and epic music. Wow, what a cool scene. It's so hard to sell me on this shit as it's sci-fi. Yay, I love watching sci. I love it when the ship has an engine that burns fuel and then they accelerate and everyone's like, whoa, and then some like epic music plays.
Yeah, but it's hard.
That's always my favorite part of
But
every
it's though you're not
sci-fi
more
show.
excited that it was like it's it's more realistic than. I mean, we don't get to see a lot of the like floating around zero G stuff in this because it didn't do a whole lot of it. We did have the zero G sex scene. Did you enjoy the zero G sex scene? Overlite?
I liked the bit where, hang on, give me a second. Where is it? I wrote it down. Oh yeah, where the captain suddenly announced that they were going to do some thrust correction.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, yeah, nice sex joke.
Excellent.
And then later on, when the spoilers for if you're for some reason listening to this before you watch the episode, later on when they kill the other person, the partner,
yeah,
I was like, oh, they were only fucking so people would get attached to her. But I literally, like, I was so apathetic to her character. I was like, oh, she's that woman that this other character who I also don't really care about is fucking. Cool.
No, I think I really like this. We'll get to that. Okay, well, I mean, you talked about it now. Listen, so Holden, he's having sex with the navigator, and apart from that, we don't really know anything about her. She wants to go and she wants to investigate. She's kind of like, oh, there's a distress call. We should go and investigate. And she feels sorry for the distress call, and that's like the only thing we really kind of know about her. And she wants to get off of the ship because she's got somewhere else to be soon, and she's only going to do like a couple more tours on the Canterbury. That's it, and then she's off.
We don't hear it called the Canterbury until right before it explodes, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I think it says it on the ship on the flyby though.
Yes, the flyby with all the squares.
Yeah, the flyby.
The flyby.
If you pay attention to the flyby,
no, it was just CGI with squares.
Shaking my fucking head.
And they were like playing super epic music over it, and I was like, wow, this is.
If you're paying attention,
this music is like really overhyping this very bland scene.
That's all I'm saying.
Wow, the ship is accelerating in space. Cool.
So she's like got attached to it. Basically, blah 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 blah. The Canterbury explodes at the end, and she goes to Holden. She's like chatting to him over the thing. She's on the Canterbury. Holden and a couple of the gang of like the main characters are on like a little shuttle because they've gone to investigate the distress call, and the Canterbury gets blown up by a load of nukes. And she goes to Holden. She says. What does she say? She says, I wrote it down, I'm sure I did. Oh, I didn't write it down. I was anticlimactic. She says, Jim, I've got something to tell you. And then she blows up. And Joe, what's great about that line, Overlite? In the 6 or 7 seasons we get of The Expanse, never find out what that was. Never know. We never find out.
Well, that is because she's a character. Well, she's not really a character, she's a plot device. And she's introduced via sex scene in order to get us attached to her more quickly and to show us that there's an attachment between the actual character that matters, the dude who is way too ripped for a pleb worker, and her, and then she's killed off. Partly as a demonstration for like the fucked upness of like war and capitalism and stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess partly also because in space no one can hear you
Scream?
Get nuked.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like, oh
because
yeah,
most TV
capitalism.
shows would like go, they'd like the next episode or something, we'd have like a sort of flashback from her POV where they answer that.
The whole thing's about dystopia. It's like it's a dystopian setting. Like it makes sense that we're gonna have characters that just kind of die with their lives unfulfilled because that's what fucking happens.
or like the directors or the writers or something had come out and go, oh yeah, so what it was that she was like
She was like a
she
plot
was like
device that we
she was like
introduced.
super mega pregnant with like 16 triplets.
We wanted to make all the men watching this show like, and actually maybe anyone who likes men looking manly and also likes naked men. Both of those, we wanted them to get attached to this character who is good for both of those things in our sci-fi show. So we made him fuck someone else.
What?
And then we were like, oh, let's kill her because it's our plot device for demonstrating how fucked up this whole situation is. Which, like, yeah. But I was also just like, this is the opening. The show has very explicitly said that this is a, like, you know, this is a fucked up dystopia. It's talking about how people dying and stuff. I thought his whole crew was going to die and he was going to have to be like, I'm sorry, I was the one who made us come here, like, to them as they were dying, and it would be really cringe and funny, because they would have been like, you fucking asshole. But that's not what happened instead.
No. Instead, he has to watch as they all die, and he has to watch as he watches in guilt as he knows that he's killed them all, and he gets to watch as his captain refuses to eject the ice as a shield to block the nuclear attack, which possibly could have saved their life.
Yep.
Potentially, because the captain was being greedy. I don't know. Maybe he thought that they could have survived and he could have kept his big fat payday of ice somehow.
Capitalism.
But he didn't. He didn't do that. Also, in this episode was the lovely Avasarala was in it. We did not talk about. She's the Earth politician. She illegally tortured a belter.
Illegally.
Well, it was
as if the law applies in this situation.
And well, she just get actually told off next episode by the deputy undersecretary or whatever of the
told
UN.
Off. How terrible! Oh
but
my God.
she nobody can tell her off because she's in like this weird.
She fucking like makes the laws, doesn't she?
Well, no, she doesn't make the laws, but she's like this weird position where she's kind of like she's like this weird political elite figure where she's kind of like on Earth where she can kind of do whatever the fuck she wants. Yeah. Basically.
I do like how
she's one badass motherfucker.
I do like how the lighting is like very gray. Like everything is kind of like blue and gray and like depressing the whole time, like even in all the like space locations. Then we go to Earth and it's nice and colorful and there's a happy little child and she's like, oh, I'm gonna play with my happy child and be a good grandmother. It's gonna be really lovely and oh, look how lovely life we have, which is a nice contrast to
immediately tortures someone.
I was like, damn, she must have done some fucking horrible things to be able to have this kind of privilege.
Yeah,
having grandchildren, damn, what a
born
luxury.
Into it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's an asshole. Tortures a guy. It's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, yay, capitalism.
Yeah.
I don't know if capitalism's the you know, there's not really been there's been a little bit of capitalism where they're like, we got to get paid, and they're like, oh, so we're working for the shareholders now, are we? Like that kind of a thing. Not too much of it. So I don't know if I can keep making this joke in good conscience.
No, I think that the capitalism thing comes along. This is a lot more politics. I think this like Avasarala is definitely more politically in. There's a lot of police stuff. Episode 1.
Nothing
and a
like
lot more politics.
Making cops look good. Smiley face.
I don't think there's any good cops in the Expanse.
No. No.
I don't think anything that happens in the Expanse makes any political police or military figure look like the good guy. I don't think anybody ever comes out looking like the good guy.
Yeah, you just got to be careful when you are showing things from that perspective, as like it can be kind of like a. It's really hard to make a like anti like army or anti whatever thing when you're showing it the story from their perspective, because like it becomes a lot easier to rationalize people's actions, even though what they're doing is like he walks into the space station and he fucking slams a random guy's head on a desk. That's like one of the first thing Miller does in the episode. And I'm like, but I've seen him walk in, so I feel like, oh, maybe it was slightly justified. It's not justified. He's being an asshole.
Mm. Well, The Expanse.
Yep. I sure was invested in the show.
Well, I think well, you only watched one episode. I think like the best thing, like I think really, you know, it's tricky with our like format, because I think like the best strat really would have been to watch like a couple. I'm trying to like think of sort of.
I'm gonna watch episodes 2 through 5, the next view screen episode. I'll get back to you then. I will have shriveled up like a dried raisin by the end of it. I'll be like, oh wow, I really want to see what comes next, but I'm also not enjoying it. Maybe it improves. Maybe it improves. Maybe it gets better. I mean, it's a great show. Clearly, it's clearly got a lot of good things going on. Like, I really like the lighting, and I really like the setting, and the dystopia is fun, and a lot of like the work that's gone into like all the setting and the characters, and like, you know, cool stuff is happening. I just don't care, and the sound really pissed me off. I'm just like, oh, this is really cool for someone who likes these things.
Yes.
It's just not that interesting for me.
I'm crying. But I mean, also like, I'm just really sad. They released a video game as well for The Expanse.
Oh,
just come out. It's about a character who is not in this episode. It's about Drummer. They don't come into the TV show until season 2. It's a prequel to the show.
Maybe there's just no characters I give a shit about. I think that might be it. I think it literally might just be like
my favorite. I mean, I fucking love Avasarala, and I do love the sort of main cast. I really do like.
Hold on. You love Avasarala, like the cat for the like the crimes against humanity that she commits.
She's just a badass. Like, you know, she's not a great person. She does a lot of horrible things, but she is really awesome. You can like characters that are horrible human beings.
Yeah. I just don't think it's badass or awesome. I think it's
badass. I mean,
I love the way she abused her position of power over that.
You have no idea
guy.
what happens over the 6 seasons of the show. And what she does.
I'm sure she improved
6 seasons, or what she even happens to her, and over the next 2 seasons of like season 1 and 2 of the show.
I feel like it's starting to sound like a show about like shitty people who like learn to be better.
Yeah,
and I honestly don't know if I want to watch that. Like, one of them's a cop. It's like, I don't really want to watch a show about a cop becoming a good human unless he stops being a cop.
Like, Overlite, have I got good news for you?
Yo, let's go! First thing I want to see is his resignation letter.
Well, It's just, I think there's like a lot of it is like there's a lot of politicking, a lot of mystery. Um, like it's just a really fun show, honestly. Um, I do on it. It is genuinely one of my favorite TV shows. I'm really sad that the audio, even though I completely disagree with you, has put you off. Um,
It was painful.
I just did not have an issue with it at all on my headset.
Yeah.
Also, Joe, I'm really sad about this because Joe, originally, The Expanse was aired on Sci-Fi, the TV channel, and then it hit like I want to say season 4 at the and it got to like 2018 or something, and then it got like cancelled, and then there was a big push to like save the Expanse, and then there was like a conference, and the cast of the Expanse were there with and Jeff Bezos was there, and the cast of the Expanse were giving a talk about
Jeff
the
Bezos.
real yeah, and the cast of the Expanse were giving a talk about the sort of science of the Expanse or something,
Right.
and Jeff Bezos was a big fan of the show, and they had a chat with him like off stage before they went on to do their talk about how the show was getting cancelled and how they've been like this big media online push about how to save the show, and they were looking for people, and Jeff Bezos had like a chat with his like head of like Amazon Video, and basically like 10 minutes later he was like basically spent several minutes like emailing on his phone, and then about 10 minutes later Jeff Bezos walks on stage and goes, "We've saved the Expanse." and just announced that they'd saved the show, they'd saved the show, and then the Expanse got like 2 more seasons. But the sad thing is, it kind of it got like a good ending, but then there is more story to tell, and it would have been really nice to um tell that extra little spicy spicy more story with an extra season or two. That would
This
have been
is
really nice.
this is one of the most disgusting and ironic things I have honestly heard.
Well, it was saved by the story about how awful dystopian future was saved by Mr. Jeff Bezos. Yeah,
I'm honestly horrified.
I know, it is insane,
This
isn't
is like, what the fuck?
it? Yeah.
I don't know if I feel okay about this anymore. What the actual like the fact that they held an entire conference and then what they just like had a chat with Jeff, and he spent like 10 minutes or something being like, "Oh, I'm going to email some people." And then he could just like, that's so disgusting. I'm genuinely like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
It's insane, isn't it? When you have that much like sway, you can just be like, "Hey, I want you to save this fucking TV show because I enjoy it, and I just heard it's getting cancelled, and I just chatted with the cast. Just crunch the numbers and make it happen." Uh,
horrific.
it's madness, absolute madness. Also, I thought what you might like, speak just before you say whether or not you would continue watching the show for the end of the episode.
Right?
Did you know that The Expanse is based on, originally, the TV show was based on a series of books, okay?
Right?
But did you know that that series of books was written by a group of writers, 2 writers who originally wrote it because they played a tabletop RPG and wrote the book series based on their tabletop RPG game, and wrote a book series about it.
That's a pretty cool story. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of shows nowadays are like that.
And as I've been watching it through, I've been watching it going, do you know what? I can totally see how this, like, I'm watching it going like, I can totally see how this was a tabletop RPG. Like, I'm like watching the characters. I'm like, I totally understand like how these characters ended up in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool that the book was based on a like tabletop RPG. That's pretty dope. I was just saying like a lot of shows end up are like based on books right now. I feel like there's a lot of like
Yeah.
shout out to Good Omens. Watched that recently.
Yeah.
You know, Nimona. That's another one.
I still haven't
Comic.
seen that.
Pretty cool. It's great. What else? What else has come out? There's Barbie and Oppenheimer, but those were just movies. Those are just original movies by cool people. Can't think of anything else right now that's come out, but like a lot of like
that.
Wheel of Time, Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of book series. I'm very interested to see eventually maybe like some Brandon Sanderson TV shows, but with him actually holding full creative control, because he refuses to let anybody ruin his IP after watching a lot of other things ruin the book series.
Yeah.
Cough, Witcher cough.
Yeah. We'll see, I guess. I guess we'll see. I don't know. Is that happening? Is that a thing?
Eventually?
Eventually.
Apparently. Yeah.
Cool. Let me just Google something real quick.
Okay.
Right, okay, yeah. I just want to check how old he was.
Wow.
Just want to check how old he was and how if there was anything coming out at the moment, which I mean is seems to be no. If there's not been any whispers about adaptation, I guess you would know if there were.
Yeah.
Did you want me to answer the question as to if I would watch more?
Oh, hey, Overlite. The Expanse. Would you want to watch more of The Expanse? That is the question of the show.
How do I put this? I'm picturing like myself coming home from a long, hard day of work. I step in through the door at home. My partner has cooked a delicious meal.
Hi, honey.
Honey, I'm home. Oh, what's for dinner? It smells delicious.
It's noodles from the local Belter noodle bar.
All right, well, I'll scoop myself a bowl. I'll be with you in a minute. What are we watching?
I put on the second episode of The Expanse.
Honey, I want a divorce.
No!
No. I can't. I don't.
Is it literally just because of the audio?
I just don't care. I think it's too much like, we got kind of an asshole cop. We've got a dude who... this is another thing that actually kind of annoyed me, which maybe I'm just in the mood for being annoyed. They're like meant to be like pleb workers on a like random...
Well, no, they're not. They're not meant to be pleb workers. They're people who have taken a job on a random ice hauler barge intentionally. Whether or not they are unskilled or highly skilled, they are intentionally taking work on a shitty barge. No matter where they come from, they have chosen to take that shitty job.
Well, that's because they're poor, right? That's what the show's saying.
No, not necessarily. They might be hiding from something. They might be running from something.
Right.
They might be...
They did say that at one point everyone's got something to hide.
Yeah.
I just thought they were all like way too attractive. Like they all like had perfectly shaven body hair and shit like that.
Well,
I was like,
this is the future. This is like 2030, like, or 2330 something, or whatever the fuck. Like, who's to say? Oh,
I
I can't
know
remember what the year was.
hyper capitalistic cosmetic standards are the
Like,
fucking worst.
Yeah. Like,
But I just
who's
thought
to
it was
say
cringe.
that there isn't a magical hair shaving, hair gel thing in the future. Everybody's pretty.
I thought it was cringe. Where are my ugly people?
There's no ugly
There's like
people in the
one
future.
old, kind of ugly man, and he's going insane, and everyone else is like varying levels of hot. Like they're on the pretty hot scale. And I'm just like, God, I know this is Hollywood and everyone in every show is attractive, but this is a dystopian show. Where are my ugly people? It's disappointing.
I'm really sad we didn't get to see Anderson Dawes in this episode because Jared Harris, you know, he knocks it out of the park. What a boss.
I guess the detective guy,
Yeah.
he's kind of just grungy and disgusting.
What do you mean?
Sorry, I was just complaining about ugly people and I was trying to find another ugly person.
Oh, this is very rude.
I think there's just no characters I care about. There's just no character. Like, I'm like, okay, this is a story about dystopia. Capitalism is bad. Let's go. But I don't care to watch a show like that, and there's no characters I'm really interested in, like, at all.
You grow to like the characters that are there, and also the characters that I like the most come in season 2. Drummer and Bobby. Bobby in season 2, she's a Marine.
Oh God.
But she, spoilers, ends up no longer being in the Marines. For reasons. As she's big, muscular, she's headstrong, but she's smart, she's badass, she's great, she's wonderful. I love her. She's my favorite character in the show. She
sounds pretty great.
Smart, she's loyal.
She sounds like a good reason to watch a show.
I love Bobby.
Still don't think I want
to. She's in it good. She's in it pretty much. She's in it a lot.
Yeah.
I wish she was in it more, but she's in it a lot.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love The Expanse.
I think I just don't want to watch a show about a dystopia.
I can understand that.
Like, I kind of feel like I know what it's about. And I'm like, all right, what are you going to tell me that's interesting? I'm not watching it for comfort. I'm not really watching it for entertainment. I'd be watching it to see if it has like anything interesting going on, but I don't really care what it might say that could be interesting.
Well, there's
I'd
a
just
lot
be
of
like, whatever,
weird
dude.
science. So there's what's going on with that weird alien goop eating thing? What's going on with the missing girl?
Oh no! Sometimes
why was there a weird stealth ship that blew up the Canterbury?
Some politic bullshit. I don't know. Sometimes space is a dark forest and there's aliens.
Politics?
University kids like to sleep with common people. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you've chosen all of the obvious answers.
This is true. Perhaps
none of those are the correct ones. Anyway, next time on The Expanse. Next time on the Viztee podcast, what are we gonna watch? I don't know.
We'll figure out
next week,
like we always do.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, everybody.
No, thank you for listening, everybody.
No, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with something or another. View screen off.
View screen. Hang on. Sorry. It's.
And I kind of know how to do a funny outro for The Expanse. I guess I've just got to say, if you're listening, I have something important I have to tell you.
Oh, sorry. Did somebody say something? Sorry, I'm in space. I can't hear anything.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're in space.
I
There's no
I didn't,
sound in
I didn't
space.
catch that.
Oh wait, hang on. I've got a good idea. Here comes the juice. That's a good thing to say because of the juice thing. Anyway, bye.